Hey everybody, welcome to the press. Great to have you here with us for this PGA Championship show. I'm Ryan Ballingy. This is a little bit of a different version of the show that I was intending to do this week, but there's a lot going on. I was up in New Jersey on Monday for the media day for the ShotBright LPGA Classic. Yesterday got nuts. Today is already nuts. The high school team I help coach, we have our playoff match today, our semifinal match, so hopefully you'll wish us luck. But I have to leave here in about 30 minutes for that. So the chance to do a good video show for you is just not plausible. Unfortunately, that's kind of the way things are, but it'll be better for the U.S. Open and for the Open Championship. So I want to talk about the PGA Championship. This is an interesting week for a variety of reasons. One, it's Quail Hollow, so it's a regular PGA Tour stop. It's typically home to what's now the Truist Championship, but in the years that it has hosted the PGA Championship, it is not the host of that tournament, right? So just like we had last week at Philly Cricket, they moved it a week, and now you get Quail Hollow this week. That being a normal tour stop, it's an elevated event, signature event. It's always been kind of an increased value event, and Quail Hollow has taken that pretty seriously, so they have tried to set up the golf course as close to a major as possible, because that's what they wanted someday from when they basically started the Wachovia Championship 22 years ago. And that has worked out pretty well, right? Multi-time major championship host. Whether you love Quail Hollow or not is kind of irrelevant to how you bet it. I know a lot of people want to take a dump on it and have this week. It's a George Cobb design. It got redone by Reese Jones. It kind of got worse under Reese, in my view. It is very much a dinosaur, bad age of golf course architecture design, where it's just kind of long. It's just long. That's the biggest defense of the golf course, is that it's long. And the scorecard length it's up there, right? I mean, we're not talking an inconsequential length. It's 7,626 yards playing as a par 71. If you break down the scorecard, you open with a 500-yard par 4. There's no par 4 on the front except one under 450 yards. And that's 8. Then you look to the back, same thing. You got one hole, which is 14. Everyone kind of knows about that before you lead into the Green Mile stuff. But that's the one kind of drivable hole that you have on the back. And that's 344. It's one that goes hard right to left. You got to hit a slinger to get it in there. The par 3s are a challenge. 4 is 184. And they dialed that back a little bit, I think, from the last time we saw it. 6 is 249, which is no bargain. Geez a whiz. 205 on 13, 223 on 17, which I don't think they're going to play it that way all 4 days. I don't think this is going to be your length all 4 days. There are going to be a couple days where I think they get this in the 7350 to 7450 range. And so scorecard length only tells you so much, but you do have 3 par 5s, and you have them in relatively quick succession if you play it in traditional fashion. So you've got 2 and 4 holes between 7 and 10. So if you're playing in linear order, then you catch it that way. Obviously, if you're playing it back to front, where you're teeing off on 10, you start on a par 5. Then, and that's 592, by the way. Then your 6th hole of the day is a par 5 as well at number 15. So you got to know that, right? Like if you're starting early, if you're starting on 10 and you're obviously going to get that one day in the first 2 days, you got to kick it off early. You got to make your hay early. Get 10, get 14, get 15, hang on 11, 12, 13, and then, make your way to the front, where you go start kind of tougher with that 500-yard par 4. This golf course is very wet right now. It's raining in Charlotte today. Not to crazy levels, but they've had a lot of rain leading into it. They closed the course to fans on Monday because of how sloppy it had been. It wasn't going to be worth it to have them out there. A little bit better yesterday, right? A little bit rainy today. The golf course is going to be soft. It's going to play a little bit longer. The good news to that is, and we'll get into the model in a second, the good news to all of that is the way this golf course works, it kind of works that it's wet, right? You can kind of blast it anywhere as it is. Now you can really blast it anywhere, because you're not going to get that speedy run out. This is going to be a soft golf course. No matter what happens the rest of the way, it's going to be a soft golf course. So you have to assume you're firing at flags. You don't want to go long, right? Going long is bad. Going left a lot of times is bad at Quail Hollow. Really bad. If you think about 18, 17, 14, pretty much all, left is bad. So you want to stay on the right. So if you're a fader of the golf ball, you got to feel pretty good about that. Longer hitters, obviously, you have to feel really, really good about, given that golf course is longer. You're not going to get much roll, not much run out, all that stuff. Greens are going to be in great shape. I'm pretty sure that they have sub-air at Quail Hollow, so it's going to run pure green-wise, but they're still going to be soft. They're still going to be really soft and accessible. It's going to feel a lot like Valhalla last year, where you could just kind of hit it anywhere, and you could kind of go for every flag, and there was nothing to stop you. And you're going to see the same thing this week, I believe. So if you're thinking about a winning score prop, you might be thinking 18, 19, 20 under. 21 under won last year when Xander Schauffele did it at Valhalla. I think that's totally possible. I think, honestly, 25 under is in play. I really do. And I know that sounds insane to say, but I do think it's in play. Now, let's get to the model for this week. We've got 156 players in this field, right? They're probably going to bump the purse to 19.5 or $20 million, but they're playing for, obviously, 750 FedEx Cup points and 5 years of PGA Tour status, lifetime exemption to this event, 5 years into the other majors. There's a lot on the line here, just so we recap that. There are 20-ish PGA professionals in this field, and they are all no chance, right? Even Blocky, I don't think has a chance here. It's just too long for him. So that is the interesting thing about the PGA. You take out 20-ish guys, depending on how many guys get through the PGA Professional Championship right away. So this isn't a 156-player tournament. It's a 136 or 130 player tournament. So keep that in mind. Pretty much all those guys are ranked at the bottom of our model, which you can get if you're a Golf Newsnet member for $40 for a year, $70 for 2 years, or $100 for 3 years over at golfnewsnet.com. Here's our top 10 for the week. Scottie Scheffler's number 1. Rory McIlroy is right behind him at number 2. And then a substantial dip to Bryson DeChambeau at number 3. Xander Schauffele, another substantial dip to number 4. Those are the only 4 players who have at least a 2 points in our ranking system. I try to equate that to general strokes gained on a field in a given round. And that's a high number, right? If you're above 2, you are a world-class player. We don't have as much data about Bryson, right? Because Liv's kind of scattershot about the strokes gained stuff. But obviously what he has showed in the opportunities that he's had in the major championships puts him up here, and he's well regarded as such. Bud Colley actually comes in 5th in our model because of a limited set of data. He shouldn't be 5th, but I'm just giving it to you straight. That's what he is. Colin Morikawa 6th. Tommy Fleetwood 7th. Corey Connors 8th. Tyrrell Hatton 9th. And Patrick Cantlay 10th. And I'll go a couple deeper for you just because Hideki Matsuyama is 11. Victor Hovland is 12. Sergio Garcia, again, limited data, 13. Shane Lowry 14. Russell Henley 15. Brooks Koepka 16. So there's kind of your group of top 16, 17 players in the model. That all said, that's based on PGA Championship performance in the last 3 years, not that Wells Fargo Championship performance, which that would make the model a little bit different, right? Because you wouldn't have Bryson there. You wouldn't have Bud Colley there. You wouldn't have Sergio there. You wouldn't have Brooks Koepka there. Those players aren't competing in the Truist Championship every year, or the Wells Fargo Championship every year. So they would fall down the list to a degree. You'd have someone like Taylor Pendrith higher up here. You would have someone like Max Homa higher up here. You would have a couple different players that are kind of horse for course plays. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But I want you to know how I thought about formulating this. I thought about doing a model in assuming it like it's the Wells Fargo Championship, right? And that would be okay too. I think you would see some changes here. I'm not saying massive, right? The top of the board's the top of the board. I don't think that's would be any different regardless. But that is something I do want to note to you, that that's the way I did it. I thought about doing it the other way. I stuck with the PGA Championship. There is kind of a back and forth about that. Do you value the setup of Kerry Haig and the PGA of America and what they could do differently? Or do you value that a lot of folks have kind of just said this is just the major championship version of the Truist Championship? And if you feel that way, then I think you got to kind of rely a little bit more on your knowledge of the Truist Championship than your knowledge of the PGA Championship. I am fine with either way you want to go about it, but that's the way I chose to go about it for the purposes of modeling. Just in a matter of full transparency. So, that said, let's take a look at kind of horse for course stuff, thinking about the Truist Championship as our model. So we want to have those folks kind of outline, think about horses for courses. We know some of them without even looking at any results whatsoever. Rory McIlroy is your number one guy on the list, right? Because he's won this tournament, 5 times? It's kind of wild. And he has dominated this event over his career. It makes, going into the year, a lot of people figured this year made a lot of sense for McIlroy with this golf course, with Oakmont to a degree because of how great of a driver he is, and then also Portrush being in Northern Ireland. We all kind of assumed the Masters wasn't going to work out. Well, guess what? It did. So now he has everything to gain and nothing to lose. I think it makes a lot of sense for, how you think about McIlroy for the rest of the year. That he has literally nothing to lose, only up from here. He's done the career Grand Slam thing. I think there is something immeasurable about that value. He also doesn't give a crap about really anything PGA Tour Live related. He's checked out on that. He's got a kind of a freedom about him. Whatever happened in his marriage last year seems to be tenable, whatever that means. I don't know if it's good or bad, but tenable. He's got a lot working for him, but his odds are horrible, right? Same is true for Bryson. The same is true for Scotty. Scotty won by 8 his last time out on a record PGA Tour 72-hole total. He didn't play the Truist Championship. He's got nothing but confidence. He's going to play a similar style golf course now in that he can kind of hit it anywhere and do his own thing. There's no reason to believe he can't win. His odds also stink. Bryson's odds are terrible. He is 8-1. Why would you, I get it. There's a kind of a clear big 3 in the major championships right now. Why would you bet that number? You're out of your mind trying to bet someone 8-1 to win a major championship. I just don't see the value. It's just not there. So I think you got to be really careful about that, taking that top of the table approach. And I know we talked about it with the Masters, right? We said you could have a win without market with McIlroy and Scheffler. Obviously, Bryson penetrated that to a degree. Well, now you're almost in a win without those 3 market, but you're certainly in a win without Scheffler and McIlroy. Let's think about horses for courses real quick. We'll come back to that conversation in a second. Horses for courses. Corey Connors is 1. Been in the top 15 the last 2 years here. Tommy Fleetwood, been in the top 15 the last 3 times it has been, the Wells Fargo has been at Quail Hollow. Tyrrell Hatton played well here in 2023, a 3rd place finish. Max Homa, he won this event when it was at TPC Potomac in a replacement year when it was the President's Cup host. But in 23 and 24, he finished in 8th place. Mac Hughes played well, pretty well here. Sungjae Im has played well-ish here. Denny McCarthy has played well here. He showed some signs last week. Obviously fell off pretty quickly after that opening round at Philly Cricket, but he does like the golf course. It is worth thinking about. Keith Mitchell played well here in 2021. Do you think he starts playing all 4 rounds? He had a really nice week at the Truist. That kind of makes sense. Xander Schauffele, 2nd, 14th. He's been close here. It makes sense. If you're looking for value, I know he's not had a very great year by his standards of last year, but he's 22-1. That's kind of a hard number not to take. Justin Thomas won the Heritage T2 at this last time, at Philly Cricket. He kind of likes the architecture stuff, believe it or not. I know it doesn't always sound that way, and I know he has talked about how great Quail Hollow is because it's just kind of a mindless bang and clang. But he's 20-1. I mean, how do you not like that number? Morikawa 28-1. You have to love that number other than his length and the weekend stuff. Fleetwood's never won in this country. I'm not taking him at 40-1. Patrick Cantlay, I don't think. I think you could like him at 40-1. I would love him more at 50-1. Shane Lowry feels like a must bet at 50-1. He's been close. He likes the big events. He can hit it wherever he wants. I don't like what I'm seeing from Koepka. I know people have picked up on him, especially at a little bit of a higher number. It's been bet down a little bit. He's been 60-1. I don't know, man. I just don't feel it around Koepka this year. Do you go after like a Sepp Straka, who was 8th in this tournament last year? He's 70-1 to go back-to-back weeks, right? That wouldn't shock me at all. He's having the year of his life. He just won $3.6 million. He's got nothing to lose. He's got everything locked up. He's a top 10 player in the world, which I never thought I would say that about Sepp Straka. But here we are. Tyrrell Hatton, is he interesting to you? Is Corey Connors is interesting to me, except that he's not all that long. And I think you have to kind of start handicapping based on that. It's going to hurt him eventually. He just doesn't have the length. Tyrrell Hatton does. But do you extrapolate a whole lot? I mean, I thought he played very well at the Masters. I don't think I could take literally anything from live results these days. I mean, Bryson won in Mexico City. That's cool. Then they went the next week to Korea. And it's like, all right, well, I don't see the value of flying 5,000 miles and then evaluating those two tournaments. So pick one, I guess, if you want. Do you go after a Jordan Spieth at 75-1 because he's trying for the career Grand Slam and is inspired and clearly inspired by Rory McIlroy? I'm not. You can. I'm not. Patrick Reed, though, kind of intrigues me at 80-1. If you look at his live golf season, it's been pretty good. Obviously pretty good at the Masters. He was close here in 2017. Obviously, different man, different era. But close here in 2017. It's been a pretty good year for him. I mean, not great. He's 14th in the live golf standings. In his last 3 live golf events, T7, T17, T4. That's not bad. Playing pretty good golf. What does live mean? I don't know, but take that in tandem with a decent Masters performance, and I think he's worth a wager here, given that he likes the golf course. Jason Day seems to have captured some attention. I think it's too long for him. Keith Mitchell intrigues me a lot if he's intending on playing 4 rounds of golf, given that 3rd place here a few years ago. And given just, if he's not your first round leader play, I don't, what are we doing here? He's the first round leader king this year. You got to play him. I think you get him at probably a 70-1 price. I think you almost have to play him at that number for the first round leader bit. And then you start to kind of get deeper and start to get mildly interesting, right? Russell Henley, probably not long enough. Sungjae Im, okay. Wyndham Clark won here a few years ago, really set up his entire career. He would really not be in a good place were it not for that. So I guess there's that. It's an interesting case, Wyndham Clark, I think. I don't love betting him. I'm not going to bet him here, but you may feel differently. Keegan Bradley's kind of interesting. I think he could be an interesting first round leader play. Do you get really deep and go after like a Sam Burns or a Cam Young? Cam Young's got some decent results here, kind of showed up out of nowhere last week. Do you go after a Max Homa who's showing signs of life? I mean, do you pick Cameron Young because he's had a good finish recently, or you pick Max Homa because he loves this freaking place? I don't know. But I feel like you've got to have a couple of deep shots here this week. I keep saying we're due for a weird winner. We haven't had a weird winner. We've had great winners. Basically the last year and the last couple of years of majors. I've glossed over this guy entirely. Do you look at a Ludwig? I think I saw him at 28-1. He's just so wildly inconsistent that it's really hard to back. But he won at Torrey. And if my argument is correct in that this is kind of a nicer Torrey, in that you can kind of hit it anywhere. It's just kind of all about, can you get in the right places and make a few putts? Well, that's Ludwig's specialty. Maybe he is the guy to like it at that price. Denny McCarthy at 225 to 1 is mildly interesting. I bet Taylor Pendrith earlier in the year at a actually way worse number than what he is at now. But I'm not taking any more Taylor Pendrith. But 225 to 1. I had someone ask me about Dustin Johnson, who's playing pretty well in Live. Kind of hit it anywhere. Okay, fine. But I'd rather bet Jake Knapp at 250 or Mac Hughes at 250, who played really well in the Oppo at Myrtle Beach. Gave himself a chance to win, but didn't get there. Ryan Fox got there. Do you go after like a Steven Yeager, who, again, if your theory of the case is kind of, a theory is you could see some value of guys who like TPC Craig Ranchville. Then I guess you bring Jason Day into it. You surely bring Steven Yeager into it. Could be a worthwhile number. I mean, you have some really. What about a Ryan Fox? Like, just won on the PGA Tour at the Myrtle Beach event. He's a long hitting guy. Again, has full status, nothing to lose. If you're thinking about weird champions, I think you can kind of get down with him at that number. If you're starting to think even weirder, what about like a Ryan Gerard or a Sammy Alamaki? I'm trying to think of guys that are worth throwing 5 cents on that could be really interesting to have the ticket. I think that's the way you have to play this week. Otherwise, you're going to be really boring and you're going to bet Rory and or Scotty, probably Bryson. I mean, I almost feel like you have to have them to cover your bets, almost like the Masters approach. You have to kind of assume one of them is going to win, and then you have some fun otherwise. But I think Justin Thomas is a great play. He's my one and done play. Do you go after Xander? That's almost a value play. Do you go out? I mean, I'm going to bet Lowry. I'm stuck betting him. I bet him all the time. It's a problem. Except Straka, I think I'm going to bet. Keith Mitchell, I'm going to bet. And then I'm going to go deep. I'm probably going to have a large roster of bets this week at smaller sizing. Not full unit plays. Maybe a whole ton of quarter unit plays. And if it works, cool. If it doesn't, whatever. I'm prepared to lose money this week. There's nothing I really like about this setup. There's nothing in terms of the board. There's nothing I really like that screams to me about the golf course in terms of guys that I should pick that are unique value, except maybe Patrick Reed. It's really hard to find a lot to love this week, I think. Again, up to you how you want to play it, but that would be what I would advise, is either go very light and stay at the top, or spread yourself really thin and kind of hope something weird happens. And if what we all expect to happen happens, then okay, so be it. We'll go with that. You cover some of your action with the top 3. Again, shop around, try to find good prices. I just said Justin Thomas was 20 to 1. Well, he's 22 to 1 at DK. So you get some value there. It's a tough one. I mean, Brooks has already been bet down from 60, but Lowry you get at 55. Strack has been bet down from 70. He's 60. I think you've got to try to work the mark. You get Patrick Reed at 90. Some offshore money has come in on him, apparently. You could find some sliver of value. Keith Mitchell's 130 to 1. Let's talk about first round leader plays just a little bit. I'm very curious what DK has Kashmir Keith at. Keith Mitchell is 60 to 1. Oh, that's horrible. You can shop that around. You can find better than that. 60 to 1 is horrible for Keith Mitchell, even though everyone knows about it. You could probably find an 80 in there somewhere. I think that's worth a look. Just a couple of matchup plays to think about. A lot of these are 6 shooters. They're not doing. The heads ups are not good. So I don't really love a lot about this week. There are some interesting nationality props in my view. The odds of the nationality of a winner prop is really interesting to me. -125. UK and Ireland 290. Continental Europe 550. That brings in some interesting people like Ludwig and Sepp Straka. I guess John Rahm, which I know we're not talking about him. An Asian winner 20 to 1. Any other country 25 to 1. Somehow Canada's 4,500. And then Australia is 28 to 1. So let's think about that for a minute. I'm mildly interested in this. If you're thinking about it from that perspective, look at the top of the board. Obviously, a lot of Americans, right? You've got Scheffler, DeChambeau, JT, Xander, Collin. But then you've got Continental Europe. You could do Rahm. Could do, I assume McIlroy is GB&I under the technical rules, even though he's Northern Ireland. So let's say he's one for them. You got Neiman in Continental Europe. I'm just not going after until Neiman demonstrates he's a threat to win any major. I'm not betting him in any major. What about a Shane Lowry? That doesn't really help you much. Hatton gets in there, but you do get a Hovland, which is kind of interesting. If you do the Continental Europe bet, that could be something worth scratching your itch on. And that's 550, but any other country I don't think is worth a play. I don't think Asia's worth a play. I don't think Australia's worth a play, and I don't think Canada's worth a play. So, you could do a UK and Ireland and Continental Europe, call it a Ryder Cup year bet, and bet those two. And you get one of them, you're going to come out ahead. Then the other markets for this, there's way too many Americans, way too many Europeans to play their market. They have English, Irish. It's kind of hard to bet against Rory McIlroy at minus 275, but your other play would be Shane Lowry plus 360 and just kind of hope. I think if you look at the top Canadian player, you do have some intrigue here. Corey Connors plus 150, but I don't think he's long enough. Taylor Pendrith's kind of wild, plus 330, but I do like him. Mac Hughes plus 360. Maybe you bet one of those two guys and hope he gets home, and Corey Connors just isn't good enough for whatever reason. Top Asian players kind of interesting. Hideki plus 260. I've heard a lot of people say they like him this week, and I feel it. I hear what you're saying. I could see that happening. So maybe if you don't want to play him to win the tournament, you play him to be the top Asian player. That could be worth it. Rest of the world players, which I don't even know who their group. This is a very strange grouping, so I'm gonna just kind of avoid that. And then a couple of live specials to consider. Will a live player win? Yes, plus 350. No, minus 525. At that point, why would you even bother, right? This is kind of a literacy about betting thing. You could bet Bryson at 8-1 and Rahm at 20-1. And if you want, pick one other guy. If you pick Neiman, whatever. But why wouldn't you rather go pick like Patrick Reed or for whatever reason Sergio Garcia? But my three guys would be Bryson, Rahm, and Patrick Reed. And you get them at all way, way, way better prices. Why don't you just bet the three of them at the same, in 1/3 increments compared to what you were going to bet the yes? That doesn't make any sense to me. So these live specials are often kind of screwy, I guess, is what I would say. What's also interesting to me is they have categorized John Catlin, who is not a permanent live player, as a live player because he is currently playing on live as like the injury guy. So you may want to consider that a thought as well. But lowest round score or lowest round one score for live players. I mean, of those folks, I think you got to consider maybe Dean Burmester, and maybe a Bryson, and that'd probably be where I go with it. But they have 16 live golf players in the field. The over-under number, which I would never bet, juice to the over, is 9.5 of them to make the cut. Which no offense, I don't think Keimer's making the cut. I could play the over. I could play the over there if you were doing such things. I don't like these live props, but if you were interested in such things, I would at least consider them. And then I think that's kind of it. I got to be honest with you. I don't love this week, numbers wise. We do want to get into a couple other things, just very, very briefly, just so that we cover our bases for what we normally talk about on this show. But if you look at kind of short-term modeling, and then we're looking at guys in kind of top 15 trends recently, and we're looking at strokes gained tee to green variance. We'll also talk about that as well, just very, very briefly, just so we kind of catch our bases. But if you're looking at strokes gained by round, again, this is PGA Tour, folks. Just guys to consider here this week. you're looking at the best players in the world, right? Scheffler, McIlroy, Morikawa, Schauffele, Henley, Aaron Rai. I think this course is just too long for. But then again, he won at a very wet Detroit golf club. Corey Connors, Ludwig, Akshay, Kashmir Keith, Justin Thomas, Tony Finau, Ryan Fox. Ryan Fox would be a really interesting first-round leader play. Coming in hot, playing really well, nothing to lose. Kind of golf course that lines up well for him. Might be worth a play. Short-term modeling, looking at the last 10 events played. We're looking for players who are gaining substantially on the field, at least 1.2 per round in the total, and then 1.5 or more in quality strokes gained. We have very limited data on Patrick Reed, but he qualifies. Scotty Scheffler, McIlroy, Bryson, JT, Bud Cauley, Matt McCarty, believe it or not, been playing okay golf. He's like 600-1. I don't think he's going to win, but maybe he's an interesting first-round leader player or top 20 bet. Torbjorn Olesen, most of his stuff's been done against weaker fields, but he is gaining more off the tee. Corey Connors, John Rahm, Tyrrell Hatton, Rasmus Nørgaard Peterson. Interesting thought about him. Could be a first-round leader play, top 20 bet, but he is crushing it on the approach. I mean, really crushing on the approach. So is Sepp, by the way. Not gaining as much off the tee. His putting, by the way, at the Truist was unbelievable. Unbelievable how much he gained. Mac Hughes, Danny Berger, Shane Lowry, Keith Mitchell, Tommy Fleetwood, Andrew Novak. People are going to forget Andrew Novak this week, and we've done almost the entire show, and I've forgotten about him. And he might be a really interesting long shot play. He has made, like $5 million this year on the PGA Tour. He's been playing great golf. We should not forget about this guy. Just worth thinking. And then on the approach, lots of players doing well on the approach. Scheffler's in orders. Scheffler, Straka, Nørgaard Peterson, Bud Cauley, Shane Lowry, Patrick Cantlay, Lee Hodges, Justin Thomas, Xander Schauffele, Echeverria. Again, the last three guys are, a bunch of guys are negative off the tee, including JT, by the way, which is a kind of warning flag. Xander's negative off the tee, by the way. Warning flag. Bad putting. Warning flag. Victor Hovland, not so negative one off the tee by a little bit, but good putting, which is weird for him. Valimaki, terrible off the tee. Morikawa, great off the tee, great enough off the tee, great on the approach. Terrible around the greens, not a good putter. So you're not seeing a whole lot there. How about Siwoo Kim? Awful putter. He just needs one good week if you want to throw a kind of fun rando out there. McIlroy is just incredible. I mean, just, if you look at his numbers, it's disgusting how good he is. It really is disgusting. But we should be looking at basically the top two to win based on the short-term modeling of the last 10 events. And then we don't really have a lot in the way of horses for courses, although Daniel Berger has been playing so much better. You have to consider him even as a long shot. I mean, I liked him at the Players, kind of called it at the wrong time. Sam Burns is playing great. Might be time to get on the train. Corey Connors has been playing great. You know that. Jason Day's been playing very, very well, especially in the tougher courses, the bigger events. Tommy Fleetwood's been playing great. Ryan Fox has been playing great. We just mentioned him. Ryan Gerard's been playing very well, but maybe it's just a Texas thing. And let's see who else we got to get to. Rico Hoey's been playing extremely well, but they are all in weaker events. Please keep that in mind if you're liking him. He is a first-round merchant. Consider him for first-round lead. And only for first-round lead. Mac Hughes is playing fabulous golf. He has kind of done it all over the place. So maybe if you're thinking about him for low Canadian or a shock winner, he was one of the guys who kind of did well in the President's Cup. He might be worth a look here as well. Siwoo Kim has been playing good golf. He has been showing good signs. We know Shane Lowry's great. McCarty's been playing well, which is kind of crazy to think about. Rory's obviously the best player in the world. Matt McNeely has been good in his last two starts, and he's got a really interesting number. So is Keith Mitchell. I mean, there are a lot of players playing really well right now. But some guys, I just want to throw those names out there and get them in your brain. I know we haven't even talked about Maverick McNeely, but he has been playing a lot better recently. Might be worth considering how you feel about him this week. All right, that's going to do it for us on this show. I think we covered a lot. I think we covered a lot of ground here. I hope this was comprehensive. Again, general feeling, I don't love what we've got this week. I don't love the board. And if you kind of sat out a lot of this week, I would understand why. I'm taking Justin Thomas in one and done, kind of going with a vibes approach there. It was the vibes I had at the Masters. Feeling the same way about the PGA. Don't overthink it. Just do it. If you haven't used Rory already, use him now. Please use him now. I think he's got a great chance to go and win 2 majors so far this season. Go 2 for 2. All right, if you got any questions, email me, ryan@thegolfnewsnet.com. Twitter, Threads, X, Instagram, and Blue Sky at Ryan Ballingy. Join Golf Newsnet for $40 for a year, $70 for 2 years, or $100 for 3 years at golfnewsnet.com. Good luck on all of your bets this week. Hope you enjoy the tournament, and we will talk to you next time here on The Press.